Hey everyone, welcome back to this explainer. Today we're diving into the book 12 Steps to a Good Life, and we're tackling something we literally all deal with, those totally paralyzing choices. If you've ever felt completely trapped by indecision, just staring at a crossroads and feeling unable to take a single step, you are definitely not alone. Today we're going to use the profound insights from this book to break down the actual mechanics of why we get stuck and, much more importantly, how to break free. Right now, I want you to think about that one specific choice you've been putting off. Maybe it's about a relationship, a career pivot, or a personal habit you know you need to change, but you just can't seem to pull the trigger. Keep that specific issue in the back of your mind as we go through this, because we're going to explore a really powerful mental tool from the text to help you cut through all that noise and find a clear path forward. Okay, so here's our roadmap for getting you unstuck today. We'll start with the perennial struggle, look at our distorted worldviews, lay out a concrete decision framework, explore a mental pivot called Solomon's paradox, and wrap up with taking immediate action. Let's get right into it. Kicking things off with Section 1, the perennial struggle, which really gets at the core human conflict. Henry David Thoreau hit the nail on the head when he talked about the mass of men leading lives of quiet desperation. It's a heavy quote, but it's incredibly accurate. When we're stuck in chronic indecision, we aren't just taking a break. No, we're actively living in that quiet desperation. It feels exactly like you're treading water out in the middle of the ocean. You're burning all this energy just trying to stay afloat amidst all the what-ifs, but you aren't actually swimming toward the shore. The book gives us this really elegant definition of the problem. It's not simply about what you lack or what you have but don't want. It's actually the gap, the literal empty space between your current reality and your aspirations. It's that frustrating misalignment between your internal state and the external world. So, when you're agonizing over a decision, your true problem is just that gap. You're stuck hovering right in the middle between where you're standing right now and where you absolutely know you need to be. So why on earth is it so incredibly hard to just pick a path? Well, that brings us to Section 2, distorted worldviews and the filters we put on reality. The short answer is we get stuck because our worldview essentially distorts reality through these common thinking errors. We start confusing the map in our head for the actual territory. Take magical thinking, for instance. We convince ourselves that if we just wait long enough, the universe will magically make the decision for us. Spoiler alert, it won't. Then there are false dilemmas, which totally trick us into thinking there are only two extreme, black and white options, blinding us to any creative compromises. Or mind reading. This one paralyzes us because we falsely assume we know exactly how angry or disappointed someone else is going to be. And of course, confirmation bias just ensures we only look for information that justifies our fear of moving forward. The huge takeaway here? You aren't stuck because the decision is impossible. You're stuck because your cognitive glitches are actively hiding the real options from you. To bypass all those emotional roadblocks, we turn to Section 3, the decision framework, and the logical steps to choose. The book offers this really clean, condensed structure to force your brain out of its messy loops and into some solid, objective analysis. First, you outline your goals using hard facts, not feelings. You gather real-world data. Then, you brainstorm your alternatives without judging them right away, and weigh the pros and cons logically. But hey, let's be totally real for a second. You can make pro and con lists all day long, but step 4, making the actual decision, that is exactly where the fear usually kicks back in and completely freezes us. So let's zoom in on that exact hurdle with Section 4, Solomon's paradox, or the art of deciding for a friend. Okay, this is the absolute game changer of the book. When you are completely stuck on a difficult decision, the book highly recommends utilizing Solomon's paradox. So what is that? It's a mental pivot where you imagine you are making the exact same decision for a friend. By stepping completely outside your own ego and viewing the problem from an external perspective, you reduce your emotional bias and gain much greater clarity. Just look at the stark contrast here. When we try to decide for ourselves, we are completely paralyzed by our own fear of failure, our insecurities, and all those biases we talked about earlier. We magnify every single risk. But think about what happens when you're advising a good friend. Suddenly, you tap into objective wisdom. You see the big picture. I mean, you wouldn't tell your best friend to stay in a miserable situation out of fear, right? No way. You'd tell them the obvious, courageous truth. Solomon's paradox basically tricks your brain into giving yourself that exact same brilliant, fearless advice. And that leads us perfectly into our final step, Section 5, immediate action and building momentum. Because here's the thing, once Solomon's paradox grants you that sudden flash of clarity, you have to lock it in. Clarity without action is really just an interesting thought. You have to make it real, before your fear has a chance to creep back in and talk you out of it. So the book urges you to use the 2-minute rule, the absolute second your decision becomes clear. If the next physical step takes less than 2 minutes, you do it immediately. Don't schedule it, don't put it on a to-do list, and definitely don't overthink it. Send the text message, book the appointment, throw away the junk food, draft the email. Taking immediate action builds instant physical momentum. Delay just invites hesitation and second-guessing. You don't need perfect conditions right now. You just need to start. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a question to really chew on regarding that difficult decision you've been avoiding. Step outside of your fear for just 1 minute. Look at your situation exactly as if it belonged to someone you care deeply about. What is the obvious, compassionate, and brave advice you would give them right now? And honestly, why aren't you taking it yourself? Thanks so much for joining me today, and I genuinely challenge you to go use that 2-minute rule on your decision right now. You've got this.